One-tricking a champion or drastically limiting your champion pool is the best way to climb in ranked. Playing meta can be great, but oftentimes meta champions have super high ban rates, which make them difficult to one-trick. In today's video, we'll be breaking down 3 champions for every single role that are amazing to one-trick for patch 13.7. A few important pieces of criteria each champ in this video abides by is that they all have below 10% ban rates, but are still strong picks in meta. Despite champs like Malphite, Melio, and Jarvan being very strong in meta, they aren't the most reliable to one-trick due to having high ban rates, so you won't see them recommended in this video. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Such an amazing top laner to one-trick right now who has insane carry power when mastered is Camille. Camille is only banned in 2% of games, so she's a very accessible champion. Cam is one of the few top laners that runs Ignite with Teleport, so the early kill threat is incredible once you learn your limits. If the enemy top laner does not take Teleport, you have such an easy win condition. In this situation, taking any even trade is actually a massively winning trade, because you can just teleport back to lane with full health and completely zone the enemy due to your added kill threat with Ignite. Especially now that you can't use teleport for flank plays prior to 14 minutes, using it to gain advantages like this in lane is often the optimal way to use it. The core build to run for Camille is a Divine Sunderer Rush into Ravenous Hydra 2nd and Death Stance 3rd. Grab Grasp for the Keystone with Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Unflinching. Magical Footwear and Biscuits are for secondaries. One of the most one-trick champions in the game, and for good reason, is Riven. Riven is perfect to one-trick right now because her ban rate is very low at around 1%, while she has a very high skill ceiling, so the more time you put into her, the more you're going to get out. All the wall hop locations with Q and the animation cancels to maximize damage output are not things you can master in just a couple of games. Due to Riven's ludicrous mobility, you have some of the best potential to punish enemy mistakes in lane. This makes learning all your matchups very important to get the most out of Riven, which will take a fair amount of games. Going even in lane with Riven when the enemy picks a utility tank is not going to cut it, so obtaining leads through strong play in lane is key. Optimal core build for Riven is Ravenous Hydra Rush into Eclipse 2nd and Black Cleaver 3rd. Run Conqueror for the Keystone Rune with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Nimbus Cloak and Transcendence for secondaries. A champion that's not getting nearly as much attention as he should right now, and arguably the best top laner to spam in solo queue, is Pantheon. Ban rate is only 3%, so you're going to be able to play Pantheon in the majority of your games. Panth may not be as mechanically intensive as the likes of Riven or Camille, but that's not a prerequisite to be featured in this video. The fact Pantheon is extremely strong in meta, rarely banned, and very easy to pick up means if you start one-tricking him, you're going to see great success relatively quickly. If you don't have a ton of time to spend on mastering Riven or Camille, then Pantheon is definitely the pick we would recommend you go with. Bully power in lane is exceptionally strong, especially after the recent Q cooldown buffs. Poking melee champs with Q when they go for last hits, and then looking to all in with W when they get low enough is not all that difficult to pull off. Top lane being so isolated from the rest of the map often leaves you feeling quite useless when the action is elsewhere, but with Pantheon's ultimate, you can look to influence the map better than 95% of top laners. Once you get a basic understanding of your matchups, constantly winning lane and then transitioning that lead across the map will have you winning a ton of games with Pan. Build is an Eclipse Rush into Black Cleaver 2nd and Spear of Shojin 3rd. Grab Conqueror for the Keystone with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Conditioning and Overgrowth are for secondaries. The jungle meta has been shifting quite a bit in recent patches, and one champ who's come out on top and a really good one-trick option is Kayn. Kayn has a ban rate of 7% right now, so well below that 10% cutoff we put in place. In a way, Kayn is basically 2 champions in one, as you have the option of playing red or blue Kayn. You could choose to just one-trick a certain form, but to get the most out of Kayn, choosing which form fits best for each game is insanely valuable. Since each form is a completely different playstyle, Kayn is not a champion you can just pick up and start winning with right away. To begin seeing really good results on Kayn, it's going to take more time than your average jungler, which makes him well worth it to one-trick. Playing against a mastered blue Kayn player who can snowball effectively is probably one of the most tilting champs to deal with, especially if you're an ADC main. Build for Kayn is Gore Drinker into Black Cleaver 2nd and Death Stance 3rd if you're going red Kayn. As for blue Kayn, a Prowler's Rush into Ghostblade 2nd and Manamune 3rd is extremely powerful. Conquer is the Keystone Rune when you are playing red Kayn, while First Strike works super well for blue Kayn. There's really no better time to start one-tricking Echo jungle than right now. Usually, when Echo comes into meta, his ban rate skyrockets, but right now it's only 5%. Recent buffs to Nashers have put him in a really good spot and in a great state to one-trick. Our challenger jungler Japanese Import has a brand new full game commentary for Echo on our website showcasing the power of Nashers. With Echo's ultimate, he's able to play much more aggressive with the lead than most junglers, so learning the limits to Echo is key to your success. Dive plays that most junglers would not be able to pull off, Echo can. So adjusting accordingly and playing off Echo's strength will take some time to get used to. Once you've got it down though, Echo can be one of the most oppressive champions in the game with how aggro you're able to play. Knowing how much damage Echo's passive deals to Baron at every stage of the game will also take your Echo to another level. Echo passive with Smite combo can deal a ridiculous amount of damage, so being able to consistently steal objectives will give you so many comeback wins. Build for Echo is a Nashor's Tooth Rush into Rocket Belt 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. Run First Strike for the Keystone with Magical Footwear, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight. Eyeball Collection and Treasure Hunter are for secondaries. For our third jungle selection to round out the top 3 is going to be Fiddlesticks. Fiddle checks our boxes for a great one-trick jungler as he's only banned in 3% of games and is super strong for solo queue. Playing against a Fiddle one-trick feels like you have no room to breathe, especially when he gets level 6, as the pressure he provides from ultimate is incredibly strong. Both Kayn and Echo are excellent skirmishing junglers, but if you're looking for that monster teamfight pick, then Fiddle is the way to go. With one good R, you can completely shift the momentum of a game, so being able to find those openings is how you're really going to master Fiddle. It's not so much about the mechanics of the Fiddle, it's more so about being in the right place at the right time, so setting up for objectives before they spawn and picking the enemy team off as they walk in is something you can play for each game. Build for Fiddlesticks is a Rocket Belt Rush into Zanya 2nd and Void Staff or Shadow Flame 3rd. First Strike is the Keystone Rune with perfect timing, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight. Best secondaries include Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. There's a reason Qiyana's win rate absolutely moons in high elo, and it's because of how powerful she is once mastered. Ban rate of Qiyana is the lowest we've seen in the video thus far at only 1%. Her power level is actually very solid though at the moment, not overly OP or anything, but in a phenomenal spot to one-trick. One-trick Qiyana players are a nightmare to play against, as their ability to one-shot a priority target in a split second keeps everyone on their toes. Utilizing Qiyana's invis to its fullest potential is also something that makes her extremely broken. Properly executing a one-shot combo and then going invis to stall for your team to follow up will lead to insane impact for solo queue. Qiyana can look to abuse the exact same build as Kayn, going Prowlers into Ghostblade, which amplifies pick power massively. If you see an enemy squishy pushing up too far, this 2-item combo is the best in the game to punish positional mistakes. Rune Page consists of Electrocute with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. Roll with Presence of Mind and Last Stand for secondaries. If you're looking for more of a lane-dominant mid-lane pick, then there's really nobody better than Uxin right now. Ban rate is hovering around 4%, so Uxin is a very accessible champion. There's a massive gap between an average and mastered Uxin player, as the way they use their E is drastically different. Understanding how to use Uxin E in all types of scenarios has a very high skill ceiling, which makes spending a ton of time on him well worth it. If you can learn the limits of Uxin's E and understand your lane matchups, then snowballing with this champ becomes incredibly easy. Stealth from W and long-range gap close from E gives Uxin some of the best roam and pick power for any mid-lane champion. When you have a lead, the enemy is never safe farming a side wave, as you can just sneak up with your stealth, pop out right in front of their face, and they've got no way to escape due to the range on your E. Standard build for Uxin is a Kraken Slayer Rush into Blade of the Ruined King 2nd and Wit's End 3rd. Run Press the Attack with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace for primary runes. Optimal secondaries are Shield Bash and Bone Plating. If AD mid laners are not up your alley, and you'd rather side with one-tricking an AP mid, then Fizz is the perfect pick. Fizz was just buffed a few patches back, putting him in a great spot for solo queue while having a ban rate of just 4%. Fizz has so much outplay potential in his kit with the mobility from Q and E, so when you can play the champ to his limits, he can look like the most broken champ to exist. First 2 levels are definitely where Fizz can be exploited the most, so being able to master giving up as little as possible before hitting level 3 is key to getting the most out of Fizz. Consistent R hit rate is also something that won't come super easy, so one-tricking Fizz and getting your reps in is vital for maximizing success on the champ. The core build for Fizz is Eluden's Rush into Zanya 2nd and Lichbane 3rd. Rune Page is Electrocute with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. Run Triumph and Coup de Grace for secondaries. It was a long time coming, but Vayne is finally back in a solid spot for solo queue and a really good ADC to one-trick. With a ban rate of just 5%, you're going to be able to one-trick Vayne very reliably right now. Of course, there's the mechanical side of things that goes into playing a great Vayne, but the way you play the early laning phase is just as important. It's no secret Vayne's early levels are where she's most vulnerable, so learning your matchups and finding ways to come out of lane even or ahead is what really makes a great Vayne player. When you first start playing Vayne, don't expect it to be pretty. She's definitely got a higher learning learning curve than most ADCs, but once you put the time in, she has some of the best solo carry power for any ADC. Build for Vayne is the Shield Bow Rush into Rageblade 2nd and Blade of the Ruined King 3rd. Take Lethal Tempo for the Keystone with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Taste of Blood and Treasure Hunter are for secondaries. Flipping the switch to quite the polar opposite of Vayne for our second ADC selection is Tristana. One-tricking Tristana is extremely worth it, as learning the limits of the champion gives you immense snowball power in lane. Knowing when you can dive in with W and look to assassinate the enemy team is such a valuable tool to have. It can definitely be a double-edged sword though, as miscalculating your damage and losing out on the duel can make it look like you're inting. With so many of these aggro supports being played in meta like Thresh, Rakan, Nautilus, and Blitz, it makes Trist even more worth it to one-trick in 13.7. Build for Tristana is a Kraken Slayer Rush into Quick Blade 2nd and Bloodthirster 3rd. Take Hail of Blades for the Keystone Rune with Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. Triumph and Bloodline are the best secondaries. To complete the trifecta for ADC, and who you could argue is the better version of Vayne right now, is Kai'Sa. Despite Kai'Sa being played quite a bit in meta, she's only being banned in 2% of games. Kai'Sa is 100% reliant on her damage to be effective, as she offers no utility for her team, so being mechanically proficient is a must to see good results on the champ. You can still be effective on an ADC like MF, Ashe, or Sivir with very limited games, but the same can't be said about Kai'Sa. Spending the time to one-trick Kai'Sa and learning the limits of the champ will significantly increase your carry potential on her. More specifically, getting used to how you should be using your ultimate. To either dive in or kite away is something that takes a lot of trial and error. To truly master Kai'Sa, knowing when to go full throttle and dive the backline is key, but you're bound to int a few times in the process of learning. Build for Kai'Sa is a Kraken Slayer Rush into Phantom Dancer 2nd and Quick Blades 3rd. Lethal Tempo is the Keystone Rune with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace. Run Freeboots and Biscuits for secondaries. An absolutely amazing support to one trick, kicking off the top 3 is Rakan. With a ban rate of just 5%, you'll have no issues spamming Rakan right now. The playmaking potential Rakan provides makes him so rewarding when you have him mastered. There's no other support with the same kind of instant long-range catch power that Rakan has. A Rakan that knows when to pull the trigger and find those catch plays can have incredible impact on games. There's a very fine line that takes a while to learn though, as oftentimes you'll see a nice engage opportunity, dive in, but your team is nowhere near in range to capitalize and you end up overextending. Honing that aggression and knowing when it's time to strike will make your Rakan look like the most OP support, which is why he's very worthwhile to one-trick. Build for Rakan is a Shurelya's Rush into Redemption 2nd and Wardstone 3rd. Pick up Guardian for the Keystone with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching. Zombie Ward and Ultimate Hunter are for secondaries. One support who becomes infinitely better when in the hands of a one-trick is Senna. Senna's ban rate is only 3%, so you rarely have to worry about not being able to play her. Most support champions make their worth from landing CC or protecting their carries, but Senna is an outlier. Being a consistent DPS source for your team is a big part of how you impact games with Senna, so being mechanically sound in her is super important. Positioning and kiting are way less vital on the majority of supports, while you can't get away without them on Senna. The carry power on Senna is amazing when you know what you're doing, but you can't expect to see results right away, which makes her great to one-trick. Standard core build for Senna is an Umbral Glaive Rush into Eclipse 2nd and Rapid Fire Cannon 3rd. The rune page is Fleet with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cutdown, followed by Bone Plating and Revitalize. As a support champion who's 100% reliant on landing skill shots to be effective, Lux is an excellent support to one-trick. Ban rate is just 4% for Lux, so she will be consistently available for you to play. Everything comes down to landing consistent binds with Lux, and if you can do that on a regular basis, she can impact games better than most supports. You're going to build Lux full AP and be a legitimate carry threat, so you've got to land your damage to make an impact. Lux being a very squishy and vulnerable support, lacking a gap closer means your positioning needs to be on point, and you can't afford to misstep like you can on other supports. The build is Eluden's Rush into Shadowflame 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. For runes, roll Comet, Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, followed by Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter for secondaries. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about Skill-Capped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So that's going to wrap everything up for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck on the Rift, and we'll see you in the next one.